one place where the SandFlee really shines is to put a nice finish on a piece of wood before you actually assemble your project. So let's say this piece of MDF is one side of a box we're working on, and we want to get it all sanded down through the different grits before we actually assemble the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and just put a little pencil line here on this piece of MDF. And what we'll do is we'll run it across the SandFlee and just count how many times it takes to get rid of that pencil mark. Now you'll see that the SandFlee removes very little wood across each path, because again, the only thing we have actually contacting the piece of wood is the grit of the sandpaper. So it might take several passes to get this removed, but this is the way you can remove all your machining marks from your wood and get a nice smooth finish for whatever type of oil finish or other types of finish you decide to apply to your project. So let's go ahead and give it a try and just see how it works out here. Now the SandFlee is a finger push type of product, and you don't need to push down real hard as you sand, because the only thing sticking above the table surface is the grit. Just a light contact to let it run across the drum is all you need to do. There's 3 passes, not quite there. With 6 passes over this drum with a 120 grit paper on it, completely removed our pencil marks, and at that point we would have pretty much have removed any machining marks. You may even had to go a few more passes if the machining marks were real heavy, but there would be the first pass with our rougher grit paper, and then we could remove the paper, take it to 180, a few passes to 220, a few more passes, and we would have a nice finished piece of wood. Okay, we've got the top of the SandFlee open, and we've just completed our 120 pass on the wood. So what we would want to do is change out the grit. Now I'm not going to do that right now, but it's very simple to do. It's a hook and loop, and you simply pull the sandpaper right off and then just apply the next grit to it. It just takes a matter of seconds to do that. Once you get good at it, it goes really, really fast. One thing they do recommend is that when you get this paper on here, they give you some tape to take down this one end so you don't hook this one end of the sandpaper right here and peel the paper off while you're sanding. So very simple to do. We would just pull this off, install our 180 grit, do that pass, and then the same again with the 220. The sandpaper, because it's hook and loop, is reusable, so don't wad the paper up or mangle it in any way, and then you can put it right back on for your next project. As I said in the first part of the video, the SandFlee that you purchase at Woodcraft, the SF-0900, does not come with the optional fence, and I have it on order now, but I don't have mine in. So as I've been using the SandFlee for the last few months, I actually put together just a cheap little fence here that I've been using to sand the side of pieces of wood. And what I did here is I just glued up a couple of real nice flat pieces of MDF, and I'm just holding them onto the SandFlee with a couple of clamps here on each end. Now you want to make sure when you if you decide to make a fence like this, that it needs to be at a perfect 90-degree angle to the table here. So I used my joiner to joint one edge to get a good nice 90-degree surface from this side. So that's what I've been doing to use the SandFlee somewhat as a joiner, and also just to remove machining marks off the side of a piece of wood. And the way you do that is you just take your wood that has some machining marks on it, put it up against the fence, it across the SandFlee until you've removed all your machining marks, and you've got a very nice glue up edge right here that you could make a panel with or whatever you wanted to do. So that's the way I have got around so far not having a fence, and this has worked pretty good, but I did want to go ahead and get the actual fence that is designed for the saw just to see how that works. Okay, next I want to show you a little jig that I made up to actually run some more delicate parts across the SandFlee. What I have here is a little bit of word art that I want to sand on the SandFlee, and this will give you an example of how the SandFlee can be used for completed pieces. And sanding delicate fretwork can sometimes be a real problem on almost any other sander simply because of the tendency to break it. Now this is half-inch piece of wood, so it wouldn't be such a big problem. But if you get down to 1/4 inch pieces or thinner, it's a little more trouble. And because this is a finger push action across this drum, it's very safe to actually sand delicate pieces on this. As soon as I learned how to get the adjustment of the drum right, I haven't had any problems since. If you set this drum too high, you will break pieces and cause problems. So you don't want to do that. Make sure you get the drum adjusted right. What I have here is a push block to give you a little more control of some of these smaller delicate pieces as you move them. It's simply a piece of 1/4 inch MDF with a handle that I cut out on the scroll saw, and on the back I sprayed some spray adhesive on some 220 grit sandpaper, and what that allows me to do is place the piece on the table and use the handle to actually get a good grip on the piece as I run it across the drum. So here's what that looks like.